Okay, so a couple of lectures ago in the Q&A session, a student asked a pretty interesting question, which was whether in a match expression we could match both combinations of literal values, but at the same time also bind identifiers in the match expression to values. So we saw that we could, right? So if I were to write, for instance, match list 1, 2, 3, I can write in an arm of the match form, if I were to say I want to match the list of 1, X, Y, Z, for instance. So we're matching an element that's a list with 3 elements. And then we can produce something if this match holds, which let's just say it's list Z, Y, Y. Who knows? Doesn't really matter why it's doing it. The point is that the language is expressive enough to bind 3 to Z and 2 to Y, and then use that in the right-hand side of a match statement. Okay, however, the example that I gave in class didn't actually work, and we didn't have enough mechanism at the time for me to explain why it didn't work. But now that we've talked about quasi-quoting today, I can now explain to you what the correct solution should have been. So, let me write my incorrect version first, which we had to define some expression. So let's do the quoted datum plus 1, 2. So the thing I was trying to distinguish between in the match statement was, can we do different things based on whether the first expression is a plus, or if it's a call into slow add, which is an alternate implementation of addition that we've seen elsewhere, right? So the thing that I wrote, which doesn't work, is match some expr. So let's do, if it's the quoted expression plus, well, it's x, y, because in some instance, we want to be able to match any arguments x and y, right? So we do, this is a fast add, so it returns a string, say. And then we can do the same thing with slow add, x, y, and this produces a different string, right? This is a slow add. And the thing that I expected this to produce was, this is a fast add, because the thing that I wanted it to do was match on the plus of some expr, and then bind 1 to x and 2 to y. However, when I ran it, we don't actually see that. We fall off the end of the match statement. There's no set of patterns that match quote plus 1, 2. And I was struggling with this for a few seconds until I realized that the problem was that the quoted expression plus 1, 2, when we match against plus x, y, because x and y are themselves quoted, because the whole expression is quoted, there's no way for the match form to bind 1 to x and 2 to y. So the only thing that would match in this situation is literally the same expression. But obviously the thing that we want to do in this match statement is to match on any 2 parameters to these datums. Well, let's go to plus 1, 2. So we can use quasi-quoting for this, right? So we said that with quasi-quoting, we can unquote certain sub-expressions inside a datum, like this, with comma. So what happens in this world is that because x and y are no longer quoted within the quoted expression, we should be able to bind x to 1 and 2 to y so that the match works. So if we run it, we see that it produces this is a fast add. And obviously we should do the same thing with slow add. We'll run it one more time to make sure my syntax is good. And just to show you it does the right thing, let's change this to slow add 1, 2. Okay,